Let me ask you a fourth time. If President Lopez Obrador, and I'd appreciate an answer, if President Lopez Obrador invited the American military and our law enforcement personnel to come into Mexico and work with his, we could stop the cartels, couldn't we?
I believe, Senator, that we can stop the cartels.
Okay, have you made that suggestion to President Biden?
If I could, I believe that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fiery exchange between Senator John Kennedy and the DEA Administrator during a recent Senate hearing. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. We're talking about major issues like the fentanyl crisis, the Mexican cartels, and why some say we're not doing enough to stop it. So stick around and let's break this down. Before we jump in, make sure to hit that button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of our deep dives into the latest political showdowns. Alright, let's get started. Senator John Kennedy starts by questioning the DEA Administrator about where the fentanyl flooding into the U.S. is coming from. He points out that the two main cartels responsible are based in Mexico. Fentanyl is one of the deadliest drugs hitting our streets, and Kennedy isn't wasting any time. He's holding the DEA accountable, asking the tough questions. Kennedy has a straightforward solution in mind. Send American military and law enforcement into Mexico to work with their forces. According to Kennedy, if we had boots on the ground alongside Mexican law enforcement, we could shut down the cartels for good. But of course, that's easier said than done. It's not just a matter of marching into another country. This leads to a tense back and forth, as Kennedy presses the DEA on whether they've even suggested this idea to President Biden. The DEA Administrator sticks to a more cautious stance, emphasizing a whole-of-government approach. This means tackling the problem from multiple angles: diplomacy, law enforcement, intelligence sharing, and so on. Kennedy isn't buying it. He wants a clear yes or no answer to whether American forces in Mexico could stop the cartels, but the administrator stays vague, emphasizing cooperation rather than military action. Kennedy is clearly frustrated. He points out that despite the DEA asking for more money every year to combat drugs, the problem keeps getting worse. In his words, the more money they get, the worse the situation seems to become. Overdoses are skyrocketing, and fentanyl is at the center of that crisis. Kennedy highlights the economic power imbalance between the U.S. and Mexico. He emphasizes that the U.S. has enormous economic leverage over Mexico, given our $23 trillion economy versus Mexico's $1.3 trillion. We buy about $400 billion worth of goods from Mexico every year, and Kennedy's argument is simple. The U.S. should step in and take real action. So, what we saw in this hearing was a real clash of perspectives. On one side you have Kennedy pushing for direct, forceful action. On the other you have the DEA emphasizing a more measured, cooperative approach. It's a tough issue with no easy answers.
So
would it help, let me ask you a fourth time, would it help if President Lopez Obrador, I don't think it's a complicated question, Madam Administrator, you're asking us for more money every year, more money, and it gets worse, worse, and worse. You know, in the real world, the nitty-gritty of the real world, when you fail, you get fired. In government, when you fail, you get more money because obviously you need it. Now, let me ask you a fourth time. If President Lopez Obrador, and I'd appreciate an answer, if President Lopez Obrador invited the American military and our law enforcement personnel to come into Mexico and work with his, we could stop the cartels, couldn't we?
I believe, Senator, that we can stop the cartels.
Okay, have you made that suggestion to President Biden?
If I could, I believe that we can stop the cartels by.
Have you made that suggestion to President Biden?
Senator, I have been very vocal in the whole of government setting on the importance of fentanyl, and all of us using every single effort and authority that we have.
Why hasn't President Biden done it? I mean, this is the way the American people, whose sons and daughters are dying, look at it. Our economy is $23 trillion. Mexico's economy is $1.3 trillion. Ours is 18 times bigger. We buy $400 billion every year from Mexico. Without the people of America, Mexico, figuratively speaking, would be eating cat food out of a can and living in a tent behind an outback. So why don't you and the president, embarrassing no one, get on the phone and call President Lopez Obrador and make him a deal he can't refuse to allow our military and our law enforcement officials to go into Mexico and work with his to stop the cartels. Why don't you do that?
Senator, what I am doing every single day is working with the incredible men and women of DEA who are risking their lives across 334 offices worldwide.
And I appreciate that, but you're not doing what would work. Why won't you do what will work?
Senator, we are...
Why don't you call the president this afternoon and say, Mr. President, let's call President Lopez Obrador privately and make him a deal he can't refuse. Because we both know that President Lopez Obrador has neither the ability nor the will to stop the cartels. But yet we go along and pretend that they're our friends, and Mexico is our friend. But he has criminal organizations that are killing our people, and you know how to stop it, and the president does. And you're not doing it.
Senator, we are working every day to stop it.
But you're not doing what would stop it.
We are transforming, and we are working in countless ways across the globe to do what needs to be done for the American people. And there is nothing that the men and women...
when it's important to you, you make it happen. When it's not important to you, you make an excuse.
But what do you think? Is Senator Kennedy right? Should we be taking more aggressive action against the cartels, or is the DEA's approach the right one? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.